Hi, my name's Kate, and I am a high school math teacher in the middle of my 17th year of teaching. I thought that today I would take you guys along for, well, actually I'm going to do a week in my life. This is the week of Thanksgiving, so we have school Monday and Tuesday, so I am very lucky and thankful that I have a 2-day week, so it's going to hopefully go pretty fast, but I thought that I would take you guys along for this week and show you what sort of things we get into and, what the week of Thanksgiving looks like in a high school classroom. So I just got here. I got here a little late. I wound up having to take my daughter to school, so thankfully it didn't impact anything. We have late start with our kids every Monday. So teachers are able to have meetings for the first hour and then the kids come in. So I just talked with they call them our content specialists, but in most schools it would be sort of like our department chair. And I just let him know, hey, last minute I had to take my daughter to school, so I'm not going to make it to the meeting. And he was fine with it. It's not something, if it's a once in a while thing, that's okay. But if it becomes a habit, then we'll start getting in trouble for it. So I figure it's fine. So meetings are supposed to get done in about 10 minutes, and I decided it really wasn't worth going. So I'm going to take this little extra time to plan and be sure that I'm ready for the week. Sorry, my voice sounds a little funny. I'm definitely coming down with a little something, so this break is coming at a perfect time. So the first period today, I have my plan period, so I'll be working a little bit more again on getting everything set up for today, making sure that I have everything planned for tomorrow, and then really working on the week after Thanksgiving. That way I don't have to spend any time over break doing schoolwork if I don't want to. So let me show you guys what I'm going to do in geometry today. So we just really finished up everything, well, the basics with trig. So we looked at how to find sides, and then last week when I saw them in class, we looked at inverse trigs finding angles. So today I thought would be the perfect day to do a review, mixing both of those together. So my students are going to do this finding sides and angles worksheet. It's a color by number, so they get 12 problems that they're going to work through. And I'm going to give the first class the choice of what they want to do, and then my other classes will kind of go based on that. So I do have several options for this. So the students can color Thanksgiving fall. So there's a turkey, which obviously, makes sense for this week. And I have some leaves here. And then I've got another set of leaves right there. So these come out really fun when they have them all colored. I will insert a picture as long as I can find it of what this all looked like last year when they were done coloring them, because they're really cool. So I'm going to give my students, and I'm not going to show them the pictures ahead of time. I'm just going to say, so you have the option of doing a fall picture. So that would include either getting to do, again, the turkeys or the different leaf pictures, or they can pick a winter version of this. Since I know, I'm going to hang these up and Thanksgiving's going to be over really by the time I get to hang them up. So I want to have some winter ones as well. So they'll have a different worksheet, but it's the same type of problem. So again, 12 of them where they're finding both sides and angles. But this winter one, this might be one of my favorite one of these color by numbers right now that I made. I had a lot of fun making these. So these are ugly Christmas sweaters or ugly winter sweaters. So I have a non-Christmas version right here. So a little snowman. I have very much more Christmas trees and presents. And then I have a Santa. So I won't tell the kids what they look like ahead of time. I'll just give my first class the choice and say, okay, you guys can pick between a fall or you can pick between a winter, and I'll just go with what the class wants. And then that's what both of my classes will do today. And then the classes that I see tomorrow will just do the other ones. Since, I needed to have the copies made already, I figured that was the best way. And then that way I can get some winter Christmas stuff posted as well. So I will post a link or a picture of these as well so you can see them. They're really cool when they're done. These are things that I have available in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. So if this is something that you guys are interested in, I know by the time you see this video, the Thanksgiving one, it'll be too late. But I do have the trig. I have trig just finding sides. I have trig and the inverse trig. I also have special right triangles, and I have those in a variety of seasonal color by numbers. So if this is something that you still want to grab for the end of this year, I do have those as winter ones, the ugly sweaters, and I have a few other versions of that. So check the link below if this is something you guys are interested in. The other thing that my geometry kids are going to do today, and I started implementing this 2 weeks ago because they've really been struggling with remembering some of the concepts that we've learned. So I've started doing warm-ups, which is not something that I've done before. So they're going to get their new set of warm-ups, and they're going to have 2 different problems. So they're going to set up and solve a proportion for these congruent triangles to solve for the missing side. So there are 4 days of this on the paper. And the way that this warm-up works is they get the paper, they do just day 1. I'm going to give them about 6 minutes to work on this and encourage them, please use your notes because we have gone over this. This isn't new stuff. And then after the 6 minutes, we'll go through both problems completely. When they come into class, the next class period, I will give them 6 minutes to complete day 2, and we'll go over these in full detail as well. Once they get to day 3, after I've given them the 6 minutes, we will talk about setting up the proportion, what it's going to look like, and we'll talk about the answer. And that's really it, because by day 3, they have all of these other examples to look at for the solving part. And then the same when they do day 4, we'll set up the proportions. We'll probably talk about solving this one because this one's a little bit different. They wind up having x on both the numerator and the denominator of the fraction, or, you know, in 2 different parts of the fraction, depending on how they set it up. And so we'll just talk about how to solve that one because it is a little bit more difficult. So that's the other plan. So they're going to do this warm up at the start of class, and then they're going to work on the color by number. I'm going to have it due at the end of class. That way the kids are not taking home anything. So that's my goal. I'm going to work on getting a few things around, and I will talk with you guys in a little bit. Start of each class, I have class slides up on the board. This is what my geometry one looks like for today. I realize my date's wrong. I'll get that fixed. So it just tells the kids what they need to do as soon as they walk in. So I do collect their phones. I'm tired of dealing with the phones. So let me just show you guys real quick. In the front of the room on my podium, I do have a calculator caddy with 30 calculators, and my students are each assigned a number, and they put their phone in there and they take a calculator, unless it just says put their phone. Sometimes they don't need a calculator, so I don't want them to have it, but I still want their phones. So they need to swap their phone and calculator. They're turning in their homework. It tells them the things that they need. I'm getting really tired of kids, 15 minutes in when I say, okay, write this on your paper. I don't have paper. I don't have a pencil. I'm really tired of that. So we're still working on this, and then telling them which warm up they're doing. Here's our I can statement. I can use trig to find the missing side or angle of right triangles. And then I always put, even though this is very much similar to the I can statement, if we have quizzes or something like that, or reminders like, hey, we're going to talk about X, Y, or Z today, I'll put that under the today as well. I always put a meme. Most of my kids don't read it or find it funny, but I enjoy doing them for the 3 kids that do enjoy these. So no need to post your Thanksgiving food. We're all eating the same thing. Okay, maybe not exactly the same thing, but still true. And then upcoming dates. So our Unit 4 test is Wednesday, December 6th for this class. And then there's the 6-minute timer for their warm-up. Typically, when my students come in, I give them about 2 minutes to complete all of the tasks except for the warm-up on the board. So that's swapping their phone and calculator, getting their homework turned in, and getting the supplies that I need. I feel like 2 minutes is plenty of time to do those things. And then I start the 6-minute timer for their warm-up. So I find having timers helps both them and me, so that I know, okay, it's been 6 minutes and I don't lose track of time, but also holding the kids accountable. Hey, look, this is how much time you have. You need to get your warm-up done. So that's how I start each class. I've been using these slides for about 2.5 years. I'm finding that this group of kids is really struggling with the whole reading it and getting things done. So I've had to start implementing just random participation quiz or be ready quizzes for the students, and I just look after that 2 minutes. Do they have the things out that they were supposed to? And if they do, I give them a point, and if they don't, I give them a 0, and then I excuse the kids that are absent. And I don't know, I've done that twice. A couple of the kids have gotten really frustrated because they got a 0 because they didn't have the paper out that they needed, because they left their binder at home, or because they just don't bring their binder to school. So we've had some conversations about the importance of bringing your materials to class every day, because you need them to help be successful in what we're doing. So it's still a struggle. It's probably something that I will be dealing with and struggling with all year, but I do think that it's an important lesson for these kids to learn how to be, where they're supposed to be on time, and how to have the required materials that they need. So we'll see. I talked with 2 of the math teachers that were at the math meeting this morning, and it sounds like maybe I'm glad that I was late and didn't make it to the meeting. They were talking just, about final exams. We're really pushing having these common formative and summative assessments. And so they were asking our head principal, what does that look like? Because we know a lot of teachers do projects instead, and a lot of people do traditional finals. And now it turns out that some people don't do either. They just say, well, I'm giving you the grade that you have. And he didn't really answer that question. So, we're supposed to have all of these things not being answered. So who knows? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And the other thing that they looked at, we're going to be using this Mastery Connect tool to start looking at our data from our common formative assessments, our CFAs, which is fine. I know that it's meant to make things easier for teachers so we don't have to crunch all the numbers by hand and count and all of that. However, I still do assessments paper and pencil rather than digital, and I like it that way better because I can just seamlessly integrate those CFA questions right into my tests and quizzes rather than having to do a whole nother assessment with those CFAs. So it sounds like that's something that I'm going to have to transition into. So something to think about another time. That's a future Kate problem. Not going to worry about that this week. I just finished creating the classwork that I'm going to be using with my last period today, my quantitative reasoning. So we've been in a financial unit, which so far out of the 3 units that we've done, my students are really enjoying this one the most because this is the first one that's really real life to them. So we talked about using Excel to create a budget, and then we've been looking at investing and talking about compound interest and simple interest. And when we did the compound interest, we just talked about compounding annually. So today we are going to be looking at the compounding periodically. So the book that we have, I like the book. I don't like the way that they introduce this. And I also teach this at our local community college every once in a while. And I really like the way that the book introduces a lot of the concepts. I took the problems from that book and created the classwork for the kids today. I go back and forth between wanting to have them take notes on their own paper and wanting to give them a skeleton outline. I know it's good for them to learn to take notes, but sometimes it just takes too long for them to write down all of the problems, and it's easier just to give them the skeleton outline. So this is what we're going to do today. So we're going to talk about the formula. We're going to look at some examples. So one example, talking about it compounding quarterly, monthly, daily, so that they can get an idea of the difference between those. And then we just have a bunch of different examples. And then we're going to come back to that very first problem where they compounded quarterly, monthly, and daily, and we're going to keep going. So twice a week, we're going to go hourly, we're going to go seconds, so that we can talk about this idea that, yeah, the money's going to increase, but if we do it, every millisecond, every whatever, just realizing that eventually it's going to plateau and it's not going to make a difference, which then introduces this other idea called continuous compounding. So I created a quick little thing with that information. We're going to do one example together. So plan period gets over in about 10 minutes. I'm going to wrap things up here, get my desk area finished cleaning up, and get ready for my 2 geometry classes that I'm going to see. So we are looking at setting up and solving proportions to find the missing side of similar triangles. So this is having us practice a couple of things. It's having us review similar triangles. It's having us review what a proportion is, how to set it up, how to solve it. Okay. So first thing that we do, proportion. Remember, a proportion is just saying a fraction is equal to a fraction. Okay, that's what we're looking for proportions. I know that these can be solved other ways, but because the directions specifically say set up and solve a proportion, you have to use that method. Okay? And again, the reason why I'm having you guys use that method is because I want you guys practicing setting up proportions, which is another skill you guys need, and solving equations, which is another skill that you guys need that practice with. So remember when we set these up, we said we want to compare our small to our big. That's not the only way, but by doing that, we're staying consistent so it looks the same every time. Okay, so one of my sides on my small is MP. So if we look at this, MP, the first letter, the last letter. So that matches what side on my other triangle? First letter, last letter. JL, right? First letter, last letter. So MP corresponds with side JL. So that means when I'm setting up my proportion, I would say 4/16 equals. And then we're doing the other side. So if we look at the other side, MN. So MN, that's my first letter, my second letter. That matches what side? JK, first letter, second letter. JK, and I know you're like, well, it's the only other one that's left. But if I had also KL labeled, we would have to make sure we knew which one to use. Right? So then we're gonna say x/14. So this is our proportion. Or we could have had x/14 equals 4/16, right? We could have set it up that way instead. How do we solve a proportion? Second one. So our second one is a little bit different. What was the strategy that I told you guys when we have a shape that looks like this, or picture? Yeah, break them up, right? Draw our two separate triangles. So it may be easiest to draw two triangles. They don't have to be perfect, but you know, at least make them kind of look like that, right? You're not going to draw that as your top triangle because that's not even close. What is side RW? 20. Where did we get 20 from? Yeah, the 4 and 16, right? We want this whole thing. We have to add those 4 plus 16. So that's where we're going to get the 20 from. And that's where redrawing these pictures can help make sure that you see I need the whole side of my triangle, not just the 16 side of my triangle, because that's not a triangle if I stop at 16. And a review of everything that we've done with trig so far, which is finding sides, finding angles, everything mixed up together. Okay, so when you're working through these problems, you need to look and decide, am I looking for a side? Am I looking for an angle? I would suggest you guys go back and look at your notes. Okay, this one I'm finding a side. Let me look at my notes and refresh my memory. How do we find a side? Okay, this one I'm finding an angle. Let's go back and look at those inverse trig problems and refresh your memory. How are we doing those? Again, that's what we'll work on. So everybody put your heads down. I don't want you being swayed by what your bestie wants. Everybody put your heads down, close your eyes, you know, like we're in kindergarten and first grade playing heads up, seven up, but we're not. Okay, so let me tell you the two options first and then we're gonna vote. So if you would like a fall-themed color by number, raise your hand. If you want a winter number, raise your hand. Heads up. Okay, you guys chose the winter one, which means that my other class today will do winter as well, and then my classes tomorrow are doing fall. So you guys made the decision. I didn't have to. So they can blame you when they don't like theirs, or theirs is cooler than yours, then you can blame yourselves. I am finished with both of my geometry classes and on lunch right now. My first class that I had today, my first geometry class, was good. They're usually a pretty good group of kids. They worked well on the assignment. They were a little bit talkative, but almost everybody got the assignment done and they were respectful, and when they were talking fairly quiet. My last class that I had, the one that just ended, is the class that I always have issues with. That seems to be where I've got 6 kids that really should not be together. They feed off of each other. They're constantly getting in trouble, whether it's in my class or other classes, and it doesn't matter what I do, where I move them, who I put them with, they're always causing disruptions. And today, really, they seem to be at their prime, which was frustrating. Several of them were just sitting there complaining to their teammates about how this class is stupid and they hate this class, and I try not to let those things bother me. But I also want to be like, you know what, I'm trying to do something fun with you guys, so sorry that you find it boring. I guess we could do, 100 math problems out of a textbook or do a bunch of IXLs or something. But I let it go, trying to, again, not let it bother me, know that a lot of students do enjoy what we're doing today, and I know I can't make everybody happy, and there are going to be those students that just hate math no matter what. So just moved on. This class is over, getting ready, eating lunch. So I've got a clementine and somewhere here, bag of chips, and I have an apple. I know, such a wonderful lunch. So I'm gonna eat lunch, relax a little bit before my last class today. So our balance, so remember, these ones are gonna tell us this is just how much money you have at the end. Whereas when we looked at simple interest, that just told us what the interest was going to be.
The interest rate.
So our balance is our principal. What's the principal?
Whatever number your balance is.
No.
The beginning.
The beginning number. How much you invest or how much you put in. So the one in our formula is telling us that I want all of the principal plus, and then this over here. So before we just had our interest rate. But now because it's going to be compounding quarterly or monthly or semi-annually or all these different times, we're going to take the interest rate divided by the number of times that it compounds each year. So that's where I abbreviated it compounds, just comp. So that's compound. So if you need to rewrite it and write out the word compound, you can. Okay. And then up here, before we just had the number of years, except now it's going to happen maybe twice a year or every month. So we have to take the number of times that it compounds a year times the number of years. Okay. So it's really the same basic formula. We just have to take into account that it's happening more often. Okay. So we got for our balance, you guys said it was
$138.48.
138.48. So we made $38.48 of doing nothing.
3 years.
In 3 years, we made $38.50.
But wouldn't you want to make more?
Well, would you want to make more? Yes, but
Then what would we have
this
to
is
do?
just after 3 years. Okay, so Tariq asked the question, what would we have to do to make more money? What are some things?
Put more money in there.
Okay, put more money in.
Get a different interest.
Okay, get a different interest. Do you think that it's going to be easy to get better interest than maybe 11%? You think places are offering like 50 and 35 and 72%? No. Okay, what else could you do besides more money? Maybe find a better bank. More time, right? More time. So the more realistic ones would be more time and more money. The interest rates, not as much. What to do is I want my calculator to do this right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put parentheses just to make sure the calculator knows that I want to do point or 0 point, it doesn't matter, 0.06. You don't need that 0 in the front, but I'm just in the habit of doing it. And then what would I have? Divided by what?
365.
365.
Then put parentheses around it.
Okay.
And then another set parentheses.
So what we did when we typed this out, we have the 2000 parentheses 1 plus, and then we put another parenthesis. Right? This parenthesis here, and then we did 0.06 divided by 365 parentheses. But what do I still need to do to finish this part of my problem?
Close it again.
Yep, I need to close. So the first parenthesis that we just did closed this one, but I still need to close the big one. So I need a second parenthesis right here. So the other way that we can do this, and this is getting a little bit more into the technical side of the calculator. Okay. It still works the same, however, you just have to be a little bit more careful. So we could figure out what that decimal was, the 0.06 divided by 360. Okay? So I could do now my 2000 parentheses 1 plus. I want my calculator to take the answer that I just got before when I did that division, and I want it to put that answer in. Okay? So I'm going to have where it says ANS. I think that's what this calculator gives us.
Yes.
Okay? So when we look at this, do you guys see on the calculator anywhere where it says answer or ANS?
No, the negative parentheses.
Yep, right above our negative in parentheses. So how do I get the blue thing?
Press second.
Second. So second and then that negative sign. So then it gives us our answer. So it's going to take the answer that I got when I divided, and it's going to just put that right here for us. And then we're gonna close that, and then we're gonna do the rest of it. What was it, 29?
around the answer.
20, thank you. So then close it, and then your 29, 20. And we should get the exact same answer. It's the end of the day, thankfully. My last class of the day, my quantitative reasoning class it's usually a very good class. It's juniors and seniors in a college level class. I do want to show you guys an accidental, unfortunate typo that I had in one of the problems. So you may want to pause the video, read number 8. I'm not going to read it out loud. Yep, accidentally put that in there. It happens. My kids, thankfully, like I said, a very good group of kids. They found it hilarious. We made some jokes about it, and then we moved on and definitely shared it with some of my colleagues at the end of the day. So it is just after 4 o'clock, and I'm gonna get a little bit of work done. My son has track until 5:15 at his high school, so I can leave here about 5 o'clock and I'll make it over there about 5:15. So I'm gonna get some work done until then. Good morning. It's Tuesday. It is, my Friday, my last day before Thanksgiving break. Just got here. It's about 7:45. Kids come in at 8:10, so I've got just a little bit of time to get my room picked up a little bit more from yesterday and get a few things prepped and everything set up for my classes. So the first class that I have is my geometry class, and they're going to do the same thing that my kids did yesterday. Yesterday's kids chose to color the ugly sweaters. Let me show you how they turned out. So we've got some of the ugly sweaters right here. So I love how they turned out. They're so much fun. I can't wait to get these hung up on one of my bulletin boards. So my other geometry class that I see today, both of them are going to be coloring the fall one, the Thanksgiving one. That's my plan in geometry today. Pretty simple. It went pretty well yesterday. My pre-calc class, which I see second period today, is working on using sign charts to solve. So we're going to be solving inequalities and talking about how to solve those using sign charts. And then they have a homework which is going to help them review for their test, which is next week. So I'll see them on Monday next week after break, where we will do a reviewing class, and then their test will be on Tuesday. So I'm gonna flip the camera around, get some work done, and I will chat with you guys in a little bit. So my kids yesterday, my 6th hour, got to choose whether they did a winter coloring or a fall coloring. They didn't get to look at them ahead of time. They chose winter, so you guys get the fall one. You guys have fall ones, so you have a couple of leaves here that you can color, which are fun. You have another set of leaves that you can color. They're not like true traditional fall color leaves. There's going to be blue and pink and purple and all of that stuff in there, right? Because these are special leaves. And then you have a turkey, that many of you are going to gobble up this week. So sorry, turkey, but make them look good and then we'll eat them. Okay, so these are the 3 that you guys get to color. Solving quadratic inequalities. So which numbers in the list make the inequality true? So if we have this inequality, x squared minus x minus 12, bless you, is less than or equal to 0. So if we think of like the list down here, right? Bless you.
Yes.
We use those numbers. So I'll give you guys about 2 minutes with your team. See if you guys can figure out which ones of these make the inequality true. Over here, white table, what do you guys have? Give me one number that worked and one number that didn't work.
0.
Okay, so 0 worked. What didn't work? 5? Okay. So I'm just going to put dots and X's right now, just so we can keep track of what worked and what didn't work. So give me one that worked and one that didn't work.
4 worked.
4 worked.
5 did not work.
Okay.
We already have
We have 5 as a
sorry.
didn't. Do you have another one?
6 didn't work.
6 didn't work. Okay. We're going to mentally do them, and then we will look at our calculator, and then I'm going to remind you guys of a shortcut in the calculator that we can use to help us. So when we're plugging in, let's do -5. So if I plug in -5, can I just do this? Can I write that? No, why not? Parentheses, why do I need the parentheses? What number are we actually squaring? Negative 5, right? Remember, when we're evaluating, when we're plugging in, we have to put parentheses instead of that x. So a shortcut that I want to remind you guys of, and unfortunately my calculator software has expired, and I need to buy a new license. So we're going to have to go old school way. I don't want to have to retype it. So how can we do this without having to retype it every time? Yep. So if you hit your second button, and then there it is. Not the answer, because that's just going to give me this, which is the answer. So I don't want that. What do I want to hit? I do want to hit second entry. So if I hit second enter, okay, right now it just put answer. It won't do that for you, but that was the last entry that I put, right? Because I followed Jonathan's thing first. But if I hit it again, if I hit second entry again, it's going to pull up the entry just before this one. So I can hit second enter again, and now notice that this one's up. And then I can use the back arrows to change this to a 4 and to a 4, or if I was doing a -6, I could go back and I could change those to -6. Whatever I get on this side needs to be bigger than 0, which means if my number or my answer is bigger than 0, is it going to be a positive number or a negative number? Positive, right? So I know that positive is going to be bigger than 0. And you may be like, yeah, Mrs. Dean, we know that. But that's where we're going to mess up the most. Okay, we know that our answer, when we get, it just has to be positive. I don't care what the number is. I don't care when I plug a number in that I get positive 12. I just need to know that it's positive. So if I pick -9, this is going to become a -9, and all I care about is the sign itself. I don't care about the number. So this is going to be negative. So I'm going to do a little negative sign here. Times. Now if I plug in -9 into my first parenthesis, -9 minus 2, is it going to be a negative or a positive? Negative. So all I care about is that number is going to be negative. Whatever it is, I don't care. And then if I plug in -9 into this, is that going to give us a negative or a positive? Negative. So then in that parenthesis, it's going to be a negative number. Again, whatever the negative number is itself, I don't care. I just care that it was negative. So I wound up with a negative, whatever it was, times a negative, whatever it was, times a negative, whatever it was, I don't care. What is a negative times a negative? Positive times a negative is a negative. So the answer to this is going to give me a negative number. Again, I don't care the number, I just care that it was negative. Remember, in order for it to fit my inequality, I needed to have a what? Positive. Did I get a positive? No. So we're going to just put a little note here. No. So always start on the left of our number line. So we're going to start at -6. Do I want a parenthesis or a bracket for that? Parenthesis. Right, because we don't want to include it. So parenthesis, -6. And then where does that part of my shading stop? At 0. So my solution is from -6 to 0. And, so we're going to go back to this union. And then where's the rest of it going to be? 2 to infinity. Good. And this is our answer in interval notation. 2 classes down, 1 to go. I'm on my prep right now. I'm going to spend my prep working on updating Canvas. I like to put copies of the classwork that I do for my classes on Canvas, especially my pre-calculus class. And if I have videos for those lessons, I try to include those as well. And then after I get Canvas updated, I'm going to work on catching up on grades. If I get all of that stuff done, I'm going to get my copies made for next week. And then if I have extra time, I'm going to start working on switching up my bulletin boards. So I did have one class finish the fall color by number, so let me show you those. Here's how they came out. So here are the turkeys. They all came out so cute. And then I love the leaves because there's a variety of them, and then I can hang them up. So some people got really detailed when they cut out the leaves like this, and some of them not quite as much, which is fine. They still look great when I hang these up on the bulletin board. So if I have time, I'm gonna get these hung up as well. So I'm gonna flip you around, get some work done, and I'll talk to you later. Two products that I wanted to show you real quick that I absolutely love. The first is this vest you guys saw me put on, and yes, it is lit up. So this vest from Ororo, I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but it is a heated vest and it is fantastic. So it's got heat up in the neck, it's got heat in the back, and it's got heat in the pockets. My classroom tends to get really cold. This vest is really nice to throw on, like wearing a heated blanket, and I'll leave a link for this in the description below. It will be an affiliate link. I will make a small commission off of it, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. The other thing that I've been using that I really, really love, and I have a bunch of them over on my side wall here, are these reusable sticky notes here. So with these sticky notes, the back of it, when I touch it, it doesn't feel sticky at all, but it sticks to surfaces. So like it'll stick to my binder, and I use one of these markers, so like a dry erase or wet erase marker, right on here. So this is my list of things that I need to go make copies of. And then when I'm done, the beautiful thing is that I can wash it and it is good to go to use again. So if this is something that you're interested in, I will also leave a link for this in the description below. My plan period is over, and well, just about over. I've got all of these copies that I need to get hole punched and organized. I also went down and utilized our color copier, and I printed Callie Danielle's November class pack, which is the December bulletin board. So I've got all of that stuff copied, and I'm gonna get it cut out, and then I'm gonna eat. I just have a microwavable, it looks like it's chicken and mashed potatoes, and that's gonna be my lunch today. So I'm gonna get this stuff done, and then I have one more class, and it is time to get out of here. That last clip that you just saw was a short clip from our impact period, which I've talked about in other videos, but just, you know, it's supposed to be remediation time, but I've got a class of 30 kids, and especially the day before break, they were just done. So it was pretty loud, pretty chaotic. So anyway, it is almost 4 o'clock. And I have an appointment at 4:20, so I'm gonna get packed up and I'm gonna head out of here. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, enjoyable. If you guys liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in following along more with my journey teaching high school math, please subscribe. I do post videos every Friday, so you can hit the notification bell to be notified when my newest video goes up. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.